What up? This is Matt with GearZombie, and today we're going to talk about 10 things that can help improve your mix. GearZombie. What's going on? If you're new here, hit the subscribe button, hit the little notification bell so that you're notified when I put up new videos. All right, today we're going to talk about 10 things that can help make your mixes better. I'm going to assume that if you're watching this, you're not sitting as an engineer at like Blackbird Studios or something like that. You're probably in a room like this that may or may not have acoustic treatment, may or may not be a good room for what you're doing, but at the same time you have either a job to do or you just want to make your own mixes better. So over the course of several years, a lot of trial and error, a lot of really cruddy mixes and some really good mixes, I've come up with a good list of suggestions to help you try to improve your own mixes. Some of those may seem like common sense or fundamentals, but it's always worth going over some of that stuff. And if you want, I have timestamps down below so you can just pick and choose and skip around to whatever you want to see. Okay, 10 things to improve your mix because apparently the YouTube algorithm likes lists and I like viewers, so we'll do a list of 10. Number 1, know your hardware. This may seem like the most obvious thing ever, but you wouldn't believe how many people post in forums or YouTube comments that have no clue what their gear does. And I mean from their sound card to the microphones to preamps, they have no idea what that is actually doing. Now, don't get me wrong, I've seen my analytics. 100% of my viewership is male. Dudes don't like to learn shit like this. We like to plug things in, we like to noodle with it and see what happens. But just like relying on GPS, get out your damn manual. If not manual, Google some more specific questions or search on YouTube and figure out what's happening. Not all compressors are created equal, not all EQs are created equal. A lot of audio interfaces are more than just a gateway for sound to pass from the ether to your computer. My Motus have phantom power, they have compression built in, they've got effects built in if you want to do all that stuff. Learn what all that stuff does and how to use it and how it will impact your sound. Spending the amount of time it takes to learn how that unit works will save you a ton of heartache later on. And not just interfaces, there's preamps that are in my interfaces. Sometimes I prefer to run a tube preamp into my interface. Know what microphones are best for your situation. Know where to place those microphones. Those sorts of basics are a step that tons of people skip. And if you don't know those fundamentals already, get it figured out and that will be step 1 to getting yourself a better mix. Number 2, not unlike number 1, we're gonna go with know your software. Same thing, only maybe worse than hardware, is people that will buy a ton of software and have no idea how to use it. A lot of people will buy plugins, and I was guilty of this years back. You couldn't get the sound that you wanted. You found a plugin that advertised it would get you the sound that you wanted, so you spent the money on said plugin, you inserted it into your track, and now you just have different sounding stinky balls from the original unwashed stinky balls that you had in the beginning, and now you really just have a buffet of nuts that sound bad. But just like hardware, all software compressors are not created equal, all EQs are not created equal. Whatever you want to slap on there, they're all different. They all have their own characteristics. They're all modeled after something different. Learn what that does. If you're applying compressors, learn what your compression ratios do, what your attack and release does, how that impacts, how those settings impact what you're trying to compress. Number 3. Track it right the first time. Now, a lot of people when they're first starting out, I remember when I first started out, I hated recording guitars. I relied on direct recording like it was the end of the world, like there was no other way to do it. Because putting a mic in front of a cab, again, stinky nuts, didn't like it, I couldn't make it sound right. And I had to learn that there was a lot of different things, while simple, a lot of different things that I could do to record my guitars better. First and foremost was learning what microphones were gonna work best. The old SM57 never hurts. Right now, my favorite mic on the planet is this Aston Stealth. I got a full review coming up on this. This is like perfect for everything, vocals, guitars, whatever, this is your mic. Learn where to put the mic up against your sound source. If you're miking a guitar cab, figure out where on your speaker you want it to go, how you want it to tilt, where you want it to sit. Don't oversaturate your guitars. Whatever gain that you're using live, pull it way back for when you record. That will help you tons and tons. A lot of people will listen to like a Seven Dust album or an Avenged Sevenfold album, and they'll say, oh, I want that guitar tone. What they don't realize is that they're hearing layers of guitars. It's not just, that's not the way their amp sounds. They're hearing several of them stacked, and they're using way less gain so that they get the clarity when they record. So learn that process. Realize a guitar is a mid-range instrument. Double track your guitars. Pan one hard left and one hard right. Don't copy and paste them. I got a whole series that's just about that. That will make your guitars sound way better right out of the gate. Play it to a click, get your parts tight. If you get your guitar tone recorded and it's all haggard right from the get-go, don't try to fix it in the mix. Unmixed guitar tone doesn't sound fantastic. It's not exciting to listen to, but it shouldn't sound like complete ball hair. It should sound listenable. Maybe not exciting or vibrant, but it shouldn't make you want to vomit when you hear it. You can only do so much with EQ and compression and effects, so make sure that your guitar sounds good from the get-go. And not just guitars, everything. And if you're not getting the results that you want, do your homework and figure out why. Number 4, I go back and forth on this. It's something that everybody recommends, and it's a good recommendation. It's not one that I use a lot because it tends to cause more problems for me than fix, but that is to use a reference mix. What's a reference mix? Say you like the new Seven Dust, take that new Seven Dust, run it through your DAW, through your monitors, headphones, whatever you're mixing on, listen to that mix and listen to your mix and try to get things more in the neighborhood of the mix that you like, that you're going after. Now that's fantastic advice. I want to sound like this. Let's do what I can to try to mix my track to sound like a quality produced track. Here's the problem with that. For the majority of people that are watching a video like mine, you're not going to know how to get from point A to point B, and you may not understand what you're listening to with point B. A lot of people that get into mixing drums don't realize that 90% of what they're listening to is sampled, or at least reinforced tracks. If you don't know what that means, a lot of times people will record acoustic drum tracks, they don't like what they hear, and they use sound replacement samples on top of the hits, or completely replacing the hits from the original drum track, giving you an absolutely pristine, great sounding drum sound. Same as we talked about before with guitar tone, people may not realize that their Fender Twin with a rat pedal isn't going to sound like anything Seven Dust is using in the studio. So while I absolutely recommend using a reference mix, I also recommend trying to dissect what it is you're hearing in that mix. 5, high pass, low pass, everything. Roll off the highs, roll off the lows, make a curve on either end and bring that curve in. And here's why we're doing that. I do it on just about pretty much every track I do. If it's a vocal take, if it's my guitar tracks, if it's the bass tracks, I roll off the lows and the highs. And why do you do that? You do that because there's a metric ass ton of noise on both ends of that spectrum, and you don't want that noise in your mix. Now, it may not sound like much of anything. If you record a vocal take and you've got a single vocal take, you may not hear low rumblies or high, S's or whatever in that particular take. But they're there, and they're going to impact your overall mix. And when you start layering a bunch of different tracks, be it guitar tracks, bass tracks, vocal tracks, or just all the tracks combined, all of that information on either end of the spectrum is just BS that you don't need in your ears and will cruddy up your mix. It's amazing the results that people will get when they're messing with guitar tone when you tell them to pass both ends of the EQ. Now, I don't want to pull it in enough that I'm completely taking away low end or completely taking away high end, but you need to listen to it and figure out where that point's at. Where is it that I want the low end to be on my guitar? And then you stop right there. Same with the highs. It's all that information on either end of what you're going to be rolling off that you want gone. If you've doubled or triple taked guitar tracks, rolling those off, and I like to roll it off on each individual track instead of just the bus. Sometimes I'll do both, kind of to be sure, it's not really necessary, but rolling that off is going to clean up your overall sound. So when you say you want to hear your kick drum clear in the mix, it's not being stepped on by farty palm mutes, or maybe there's a breath of air that was picked up during the vocal track that is registering in your sub frequencies. Cleaning all that out of there with a simple EQ is going to make the cleanliness of this track way better than it would be without it. Number 6, before all of this other stuff that we talked about, start with balancing your tracks. Don't put any effects on, don't touch anything. Just get what I would call a relative mix. Just get all of your volumes about where you want them. You'll be surprised how much less you'll have to do if you can just get your raw guitar takes sitting where you want them, your bass sitting where you want it, and then start going in with your surgical tools and doing what you need to do. Now, you're going to adjust all that anyway. For example, bass guitar can be really unruly until you start compressing it. So you're gonna change all that stuff, but having a good foundation that's just balanced and baseline before you start messing with anything else, fantastic starting block. 7, what are you monitoring on? Home recording forums, I don't care if you're looking at Reddit, Facebook, any place that there's a discussion, people discuss what monitors should I be using? What monitors are the best? What's gonna give me the most accurate sound? I use the Yamaha HS80Ms with the subwoofer. You know, the whole selling point with these was that they were supposed to be sort of the next best thing to the NS10s. The NS10s, these look similar to the NS10s, white cones, that whole deal. And the reason that people liked the NS10s was because they sounded like ass. And if you could make the NS10s sound good, then your mixes were gonna sound fantastic. And you go to major studios all over, you will see, in so many cases, you will see NS10s sitting up on the desk. A lot of these major studios, they are properly treated. I didn't discuss treatment in this. Maybe we'll add that as an 11. We'll talk about treatment. Stick with me. I'm gonna give you a bonus one. What do you think about that? See, when you watch GearZombie videos, you're getting value. I'm giving you value. You signed up for 10, I'm gonna give you 11. But as far as monitoring goes, I'm going to recommend something for you that everybody's going to tell you is wrong. They're gonna say, that fat guy is wrong. I've heard it all my life, so it doesn't really matter. If you're looking at going out and buying new monitors for your mixes, stop. How much are the HS80s? $349. How much is this sub? $450. 1,200-ish. That's 1,200 bucks in mixing. And I'm gonna tell you what, when I turn these on, my mixes sound like balls. Here's why. My room is not a good room to mix in. I have foam all over everywhere. The space I had before we moved, same thing. Not properly acoustically treated. These Sennheiser HD600s. These are the shit. These are like 300 bucks. These are open back headphones. They're the 650s or the bigger brother. 650s, $399. These are open back headphones. These are meant to give you an accurate representation of what you're listening to. What I had found, and when I say my mixes were ball hair on my monitors, it's not entirely true. I had to interpret a lot. I had to realize, and you're gonna have to do that on anything. You're gonna have to learn how to mix on whatever you're mixing on. But what I found with these is this was a much better representation of what I was doing in my DAW than sitting here listening to these monitors in a terribly sound corrected room. So my recommendation against what everybody would say about not mixing on headphones would be to mix on headphones. Just make sure that you get a good open back set of headphones. I love these, and in my tip number 11 that we will get to, I'm gonna tell you more about these and something that you can do to make these even better yet. Value, it's all about value. Number 5, 6, 7, 8. Stop listening to your mixes so damn loud. Look, everybody does it. I did it forever. I still do it. I'll start mixing. I realize it's too damn loud. And this is what happens. When you mix at high volumes, and you want to do it because it's sounding good, you're having fun, your song's kicking ass, you're listening to it loud. But what ends up happening is within no time, your ears start defending themselves. Your high end starts to disappear, the low end starts to get muddy, and you start mixing to compensate for what you're losing in frequency range because you're listening to it too damn loud. Your ears are getting fatigued, and this is what's going to happen. You don't have hours, you have minutes. By simply bringing your volume down, whether you're listening through headphones or listening through monitors, just by bringing your volume down to a reasonable level, you're going to be able to extend the amount of time you're going to be able to sit and mix, and you're also going to be able to hear the detail in your mixes that you would have missed otherwise. Everybody's had that time where they've spent a bunch of time, a whole bunch of hours on a mix one night, and they go and they listen to it the next day, and they're like, what in the actual fuck is that? What fucking happened to my mix? It sounds like ass. Nothing happened to your mix. You mixed it like ass because you fried your ears in 15 minutes because you were listening to it too loud. So be smart, turn it down, pay attention to your mix, and if for no other reason, it's so you'll be able to hear at 50 or, just a few years more than I am old. I'd never be able to be in a gang. 9, listen on multiple sources. Listening on multiple sources is super important. Yes, you need to learn how to mix on your monitors or on your headphones. You need to learn how that's actually going to translate, because nothing is going to give you the 100% accurate, down to a gnat's ass sound that you need to make your mixes transparent across every device. That's just not going to happen. You need to listen on multiple devices. Listen on your headphones, listen on earbuds, listen on your iPhone speaker. Not for tone, but listen to see how the whole thing is balanced. Listen on your PC speakers, listen in your car, listen whatever you can stick that mix in, listen to it on that. I would mix, I would have my snare, especially my snare, where I could hear it and I thought it sounded fantastic here, and then I would go listen to it in the car, and the snare drum sounded like a tree branch breaking in my head every time I heard it. I wouldn't have known that had I not taken that mix to something else. So you can't listen to it on enough things. And again, the more accurate of a sound source that you're mixing on, stay tuned for tip 11, because we deliver value at GearZombie, the better you'll be. I don't know what I was saying before that, but I sure hope that tied it all together. Number 10, and probably, in my opinion, the most important number out of all of these, is ask questions. I know in this day and age it's difficult. You're on Facebook, you're on Reddit, you're wherever people talk about gear and such, and you type in a question, you're afraid to type in the question because somebody's gonna call you a dumbass, and they're gonna call you a dumbass. The amount of people that just sit waiting to just attack, to snipe somebody for asking a question, is far greater than the amount of people that are going to help you. That doesn't mean that there aren't people that are there to help you. It's like, what was Mr. Rogers said, go find the helpers?
Always look for the helpers.
Think of the internet like that. Like, the internet is one giant tragedy, and you need to go find the helpers to help with your tragedy, which in this case may be your mix. Don't be afraid and post somewhere. You always see somebody answer, and usually it's a constructive answer. Now, number 11. All right, I told you I was gonna give you not only 10 as advertised, but 11 tips to get a better mix. And I provide. I talked about using these Sennheiser HD600s. Fantastic set of open back headphones for mixing. The big brothers, the 650s, from my understanding, even better. I also use the HS80Ms for my monitors. While these very much help my mix, one thing that has made them way better is a piece of software called SonarWorks Reference 4. Now, this is not a sponsored post. As a matter of fact, several months back, I asked them, hey, could you just give me like a trial license or something so I could do a video on these? And yeah, they didn't answer. It was something I wanted, so I sprung for it. So this is not sponsored. They wouldn't even give me a pretend version. I'm just teasing. I don't have any subs and I don't post frequently, but let me tell you what this Reference 4 stuff does. So they have profiles that are built for specific pieces of equipment. One of them being the Sennheiser HD600 headphones that I have right here. And what this software does, it is sound correction software. So it will take the sound profile of my headphones and it will make them flat. It will make the appropriate EQ adjustments to make these sound flat. You can also do the same with your monitors. As much as I raved about the HD600s making my mixes better, using SonarWorks Reference 4 made even more difference. I can pretty much mix with SonarWorks on and be relatively certain that I'm gonna get almost exactly what I want first go around. I'm not constantly chasing things. It's made things so much more accurate for me. All right, thanks for listening. If you haven't done it already, hit like, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know when I'm coming at you. I do occasional Q&As. If you have a question, post it. I'll talk about it if I know what I'm talking about. If I don't know what I'm talking about, I'll make some crap up and I'll say it anyway. Go grab all of our music on iTunes, Spotify, whatever you listen to. Until next time, love ya, GearZombie.